Hello, hello, radio readers. This is Elaine Charles, and I'm so glad you've joined me for this week's edition of the Book Report. Every week, we look at what's new in the world of books. Last week, we visited the amazing Miami International Book Fair, and we took a moment to celebrate Thanksgiving. Ladies, I think this past week you may have been a bit distracted with holiday shopping. And guys, perhaps you've been hard at work watching football. But now it's time to take a breather and take a tour with me through the world of books. Helping us as tour guides this week will be two of the most esteemed librarians in the United States. That's why I've dubbed this our Library Special. Readers, I've shared before that I used to work at the Library of Congress, that hallowed institution on Capitol Hill, dating back to the time of Thomas Jefferson. I thought, as book lovers, you'd like to learn how today's libraries are adapting to the digital age. And for our audiobook portion of the show, we'll share some of the fantastic releases for the holiday season. So stay with me as we dive deep into the fun.
Traditional advertising can be expensive and wasteful. But lately, you've been hearing a lot about social media and viral marketing. But let's be honest, it's confusing. That's why you need Magic Buzz, a new marketing company so unique, we've even coined a special phrase for what we do, socio-viral. We combine the word-of-mouth friendliness of social media, like Facebook, Twitter, together with the viral reach power of YouTube to create the socio-viral effect. The Magic Buzz team makes sure our clients are well represented online. We recently took word-of-mouth advertising to the #1 position as most productive medium for a major cell phone company. That's right. Magic Buzz produced more sales than an expensive TV campaign at a fraction of the cost. Put the power of socio-viral marketing to work for you. Visit us at magicbuzz.com. magicbuzz.com. If you have any questions, please feel free to email us at info@magicbuzz.com. Magic Buzz. We're there when you can't be.
I'm back, and I can't wait for you to meet the president of the American Library Association, Roberta Stevens. In this prestigious position, Roberta is busy energizing libraries all over the country. The ALA has a membership of more than 67,000 librarians, library trustees, and supporters. Its mission is to promote the highest quality library and information services for all of us. Roberta spent 25 years at the Library of Congress, where she headed projects and partnerships with members of Congress and their staff. For 10 years, she also served as the project manager for the National Book Festival, which began in 2001 as a collaborative effort of the Library of Congress and then First Lady Laura Bush. Now President Obama and First Lady Michelle Obama are its honorary co-chairs. Welcome, Roberta. It's so great to have you with us today.
I'm so glad to be with you, Elaine. Nice to be here.
Well, I think our listeners would love to hear about the National Book Festival, how it's evolved from its early days, and what are the current goals.
The National Book Festival began back in the year 2001, and it actually was initiated by Laura Bush. Laura Bush was the person who began the Texas Book Festival, and she, loved it, and the citizens of Texas loved it. It was a big success there. And when the president, shortly before the president was to be inaugurated, she made a visit to the Library of Congress and talked with the Librarian of Congress and said, wouldn't it be nice to have a book festival on a national level? And he was very enthusiastic about it. And that's actually what helped us to get going with the National Book Festival in what was really a relatively short amount of time. I think they began the conversation in January, and work initiated maybe in March of the same year. But by September, and it was held on September 8th, the first year, we had a National Book Festival for the whole country. Our experience was kind of astounding, actually. We expected we might have around 15,000 people, and that first year we had 30,000 people. So it took us quite by surprise. We were unprepared for the level of enthusiasm that we encountered. And that was really just the beginning of the growth of the festival. We learned a lot of lessons the first year, and by the time I left my position as the project manager for the festival, which was this year, the previous year in 2010, or 2009 rather, we had 130,000 people attending the festival, so it has grown astronomically since its very early days.
When is it, and where is it, and can anyone attend?
Anyone can attend. It's free. It's open to the public. It has pavilions that are targeted not only for readers of books for adults, but also for teens and children. So anybody can come, and we certainly encourage them to do so. It's almost always held the last weekend in September.
And where is it, actually?
It's on the National Mall in Washington, D.C. But one of the things that we do is we tape the National Book Festival, videotape the authors who are appearing in the pavilions doing their presentations, and those are put up on the Library of Congress website, available to anyone. If you cannot come to Washington and see them in person and live, you can still see them on the website. It's very easy to navigate, and it's fun to watch the presentations that they give. The presentations are generally in the range of about 20 minutes, 25 minutes, and there's time for questions from the audience. The pavilions are, I'll give you some examples. There's a children's pavilion with children's authors, and there's a pavilion for teens and children. There's often a fiction and fantasy pavilion, history and biography, poetry and prose, and mysteries and thrillers. Those have been some of the ones that we have had. And in addition, we have, we experiment every year, and we keep trying to do new things. We've had pavilions for, home and family. It's just a wide variety of topics, and so it's a wide variety of authors. Really, there's somebody there to appeal to, who appeals to everybody. So the scope is very broad, and the authors that appear are often very, very well-known authors. So there are people whose books we know are the authors. We know their books are being read by lots and lots of people throughout the U.S., so there's a high level of interest in the National Book Festival as a result. Can
you share some of your favorite moments with authors that have happened there?
Well, I think that some of my favorite moments with authors, I'm usually working the entire event and moving around the grounds, but I have really been astounded at the level of affection that there are for the authors and the enthusiasm for them. Julie Andrews was one of our authors, and she could not have been more gracious in her appearance. People love they love Clifford the Big Red Dog and the author of Clifford the Big Red Dog. The authors have been genuinely gracious with the people there, and so it's kind of hard for me to target a specific author or a specific story, because what I see when I'm driving around the grounds, in my little golf cart, checking up on things, is just so much joy on the faces of the people who are there and of the authors who are doing the presentations. They feel like rock stars, and I guess that maybe is one of my favorite stories, is David McCullough talking about the fact that, he feels like he's a rock star when he comes to the National Book Festival, because people just can't get enough of him, and they're just crowded all around him. But I would say that's the case with virtually everybody who is present at the festival.
Well, I know that you travel quite a bit across the country and around the world. Soon you'll be off to Mexico and the Netherlands. What message do you take out to the world when you travel?
Well, the message I take out to the world is actually a pretty direct and a simple one, and it's how essential libraries are to the citizens of nations wherever you are. I've been in China, I've been in South Africa, I've been in Bulgaria, I've been in Mexico, and an educated and an informed populace is absolutely essential to our democracy, to our government, to our way of life. And I've also been talking a great deal about the importance of libraries in lifelong learning and in our being as individuals and as a country here in the U.S., and the same lesson goes for them. We really are in a globally competitive marketplace. So you have to have absolutely the most top-notch, best people to compete in this new world that we exist in. So I talk a lot about the vitality of America's libraries and the role that they are playing in helping people, and in this tough economic time that we've been in helping individuals brush up on their skills for jobs, acquire new job skills, do interviews. We do training and interviewing. We help people do research for jobs that they have applied for so that they can do a very effective interview. We help people with online applications. We're actually playing a very, very vital role in the economic health of the community, as well as in the social and educational health of the community.
So that's where you see American libraries going as well. And looking ahead, what do you see for our libraries here in the U.S.?
Well, I think what we're going to see is a lot more of the 24/7 customized and personalized service. The advent of the mobile technology is really a great boon for libraries because we have the opportunity to allow people to access information in the libraries, access our catalogs, etc., access databases remotely so that they can get the information they need wherever they are at the time when they need it. And I think that really, in the end, is going to be, the future. We're going to see more and more of that occurring in the libraries of our nation. That's really the future of libraries, not only a place and a part of the community, but also the opportunity for people to access information and services wherever they are when they need that information.
All right. Thank you so much, Roberta. We've really learned a lot from you today. Thanks.
Well, thank you very much, Elena. I enjoyed the opportunity to speak with you.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye now.
Readers, the minute I get in my car, I turn on the ignition and turn up the CD. I've been an audiobook addict for years. And in all that time, Room by Emma Donaghue is one of the most unique, riveting books I've ever experienced. To 5-year-old Jack, Room is the entire world. It's where he was born and grew up. It's where he lives with his ma, where he learns and reads and eats and sleeps and plays. At night, his ma shuts him safely in the wardrobe, where he is meant to be asleep when old Nick visits. Room is home to Jack, but something very different to Ma. The story unfolds slowly, and it will grip you from start to finish. Through determination, ingenuity, and fierce motherly love, Ma has created a life for Jack. But she knows it's not enough. Not for her, not for him. She devises a bold plan, one that relies on her young son's bravery and a lot of luck. What she does not realize is just how unprepared she is for the plan to actually work. Told entirely in the language of the energetic, pragmatic 5-year-old Jack, Room is a celebration of resilience and the limitless bond between parent and child, and what it means to journey from one world to another. Let's listen.
Today I'm 5. I was 4 last night going to sleep in wardrobe, but when I wake up in bed in the dark, I'm changed to 5. Abracadabra. Before that, I was 3, then 2, then 1, then 0. Was I minus numbers? Ma does a big stretch. Up in heaven, was I -1, -2, -3?
Nah, the numbers didn't start till you zoomed down.
Through skylight. You were all sad till I happened in your tummy.
You said it.
Ma leans out of bed to switch on lamp. He makes everything light up. Whoosh! I shut my eyes just in time. Then open one a crack, then both.
I cried till I didn't have any tears left. I just lay here, counting the seconds.
How many seconds?
Millions and millions of them.
No, but how many exactly?
I lost count.
Then you wished and wished on your egg till you got fat. She grins.
I could feel you kicking.
What was I kicking?
Me, of course.
I always laugh at that bit.
From the inside. Boom, boom.
Ma lifts her sleep t-shirt and makes her tummy jump.
I thought, Jack's on his way. First thing in the morning, you slid out onto the rug with your eyes wide open.
I looked down at Rug with her red and brown and black all zigging around each other. There's the stain I spilled by mistake getting born. You cutted the cord and I was free. Then I turned into a boy.
Actually, you were a boy already.
She gets out of bed and goes to thermostat to hot the air. I don't think he came last night after 9. The air's always different if he came. I don't ask because she doesn't like saying about him.
Tell me, Mr. Five, would you like your present now or after breakfast?
What is it? What is it?
I know you're excited, but remember not to nibble your finger. Germs could sneak in the hole.
To sick me like when I was 3 with throw up and diarrhea?
Even worse than that. Germs could make you die.
And go back to heaven early?
You're still biting it.
She pulls my hand away. Sorry. I sit on the bad hand. Call me Mr. Five again.
So, Mr. Five, now or later?
I jump onto Rocker to look at watch. He says 7:14. I can skateboard on Rocker without holding on to her. Then I wee back onto Duvet and I'm snowboarding instead. When are presents meant to open?
Either way would be fun. Will I choose for you?
Now I'm 5. I have to choose. My finger's in my mouth again. I put it in my armpit and lock shut. I choose now. She pulls a something out from under her pillow. I think it was hiding all night invisibly. It's a tube of ruled paper with the purple ribbon all around from the 1,000 chocolates we got the time Christmas happened.
Open it up, gently.
I figure out to do off the knot. I make the paper flat. It's a drawing, just pencil, no colors. I don't know what it's about. Then I turn it. Me! Like in mirror, but more. My head and arm and shoulder in my sleep t-shirt. Why are the eyes of the me shut?
You were asleep.
How you did a picture asleep?
Readers, are you ready for another Reacher? Lee Child's popular action hero, Jack Reacher, is back in the thriller 61 Hours. And if you've got the time, you might want to spend it following Jack through a savage blizzard in a small South Dakota town. He's on a mission to protect one brave woman from an assassin whose heart is cold as ice. If you're up for another thrill ride with Jack Reacher, take a listen to 61 Hours, read by Dick Hill.
5 minutes to 3 in the afternoon. Exactly 61 hours before it happened. The lawyer drove in and parked in the empty lot. There was an inch of new snow on the ground, so he spent a minute fumbling in the footwell until his overshoes were secure. Then he got out and turned his collar up and walked to the visitor's entrance. There was a bitter wind out of the north. It was thick with fat, lazy flakes. There was a storm 60 miles away. The radio had been full of it. The lawyer got in through the door and stamped the snow off his feet. There was no line. It was not a regular visiting day. There was nothing ahead of him except an empty room and an empty X-ray belt and a metal detector hoop and 3 prison guards standing around doing nothing. He nodded to them, even though he didn't know them, but he considered himself on their side and they on his. Prison was a binary world. Either you were locked up or you weren't. They weren't. He wasn't. Yet. He took a gray plastic bin off the top of a teetering stack and folded his overcoat into it. He took off his suit coat and folded it and laid it on top of the overcoat. It was hot in the prison. Cheaper to burn a little extra oil than to give the inmates 2 sets of clothes, one for the summer and one for the winter. He could hear their noise ahead of him. The clatter of metal and concrete and the random crazy yells and the screams and the low grumble of other disaffected voices, all muted by dog-legged corridors and many closed doors. He emptied his pants pockets of keys and wallet and cell phone and coins and nested those clean, warm personal items on top of his suit coat. He picked up the gray plastic bin, didn't carry it to the X-ray belt. Instead, he hefted it across the room to a small window in a wall. He waited there, and a woman in uniform took it and gave him a numbered ticket in exchange for it. He braced himself in front of the metal detector hoop. He patted his pockets and glanced ahead, expectantly, as if waiting for an invitation. Learned behavior from air travel. The guards let him stand there for a minute, a small, nervous man in his shirt sleeves, empty-handed. No briefcase, no notebook, not even a pen. He was not there to advise. He was there to be advised. Not to talk, but to listen. And he sure as hell wasn't going to put what he heard anywhere near a piece of paper. The guards beckoned him through. A green light and no beep, but still the first guard wanded him, and the second patted him down. The third escorted him deeper into the complex, through doors designed never to be open unless the last and the next were closed, and around tight corners designed to slow a running man's progress, and past thick green glass windows with watchful faces behind. The lobby had been institutional, with linoleum on the floor and mint green paint on the walls and fluorescent tubes on the ceiling, and the lobby had been connected to the outside, with gusts of cold air blowing in when the door was opened, and salt stains and puddles of snowmelt on the floor. The prison proper was different. It had no connection to the outside, no sky, no weather, no attempt at decor. It was all raw concrete, already rubbed greasy where sleeves and shoulders had touched it, still pale and dusty where they hadn't. Underfoot was grippy gray paint, like the floor of an auto enthusiast's garage. The lawyer's overshoes squeaked on it. There were 4 interview rooms. Each was a windowless concrete cube, divided exactly in half by a wall-to-wall desk-height counter with safety glass above. Caged lights burned on the ceiling above the counter. The counter was cast from concrete. The grain of the formwork lumber was still visible in it. The safety glass was thick and slightly green, and was divided into 3 overlapping panes to give 2 sideways listening slots. The center pane had a cutout slot at the bottom for documents, like a bank. Each half of the room had its own chair and its own door, perfectly symmetrical.
The holidays are right around the corner. Huge meals, and of course, dessert. So readers, I think this is the right moment to serve up some history with lots of flavor. With a cast of characters that wouldn't be out of place in a Victorian novel, Chocolate Wars by none other than Deborah Cadbury, sweet, tells the story of the great chocolatier dynasties through the prism of the Cadburys. Chocolate was consumed unrefined and unprocessed as a rather bitter drink for the wealthy elite until the late 19th century. Then the Swiss discovered a way to blend it with milk, and voila! A product that would conquer every market in the world. I know it's conquered my heart. So, one of the great global business rivalries unfolded as each chocolate maker attempted to dominate its domestic market and innovate new recipes. The contest was full of dramatic contradictions. The Cadburys were austere Quakers who found themselves making millions from a product they thought indulgent. Kitty Hershey could hardly have been more flamboyant, yet her husband was moved by the Cadburys' tradition of philanthropy. Each was a product of their unique time and place, yet they shared one thing. They wanted to make the best chocolate in the world. I vote for that. Here is Chocolate Wars, the 150-year rivalry between the world's greatest chocolate makers. It's narrated by the author, Deborah Cadbury.
In mid-Victorian times, the English town of Birmingham was growing fast, devouring the surrounding villages and nearby woods and fields. The unstoppable engine of the Industrial Revolution had turned this modest market town into a great, sprawling metropolis. Country dwellers, hungry for work, drove the population from 11,000 in 1720 to more than 200,000 by 1850. In the city they found towering chimneys that turned the skies thunder grey and taskmasters unbending in their demands. Machines, oblivious to the seasons, never stopped issuing the unspoken command: more labour, more work and more toil, to feed the looms, to fire the furnaces and drive the relentless wheels of commerce and industry far beyond English shores. Birmingham was renowned across the country for innovation and invention. According to the reporter Walter White, writing about a visit to the city in Chambers' Edinburgh Journal in October 1852, just to walk from factory to factory, workshop to workshop, and view the extraordinary mechanical contrivances and ingenious adaptations of means to ends produces an impress upon the mind of no common character. The town was a beacon of industrial might and muscle.
Social media. It's got everyone buzzing these days. But what is it really, and how can you put it to work for you? More than just a passing trend that's hot today, gone tomorrow, social media is marketing that is making a difference for savvy business people who have jumped into the future. Magic Buzz is a new online marketing company so unique, we've even coined a special phrase for what we do: socio-viral. We combine the word-of-mouth friendliness of social media like Facebook and Twitter together with the viral reach power of YouTube to create the socio-viral effect. Magic Buzz's socio-viral solution provides the measurable value of online advertising that works, affordable, and effective. So get the buzz going for your business. Magic Buzz, with only one Z, because we're never asleep. Visit us at magicbuz.com. For more information or any questions, please feel free to email us at info@magicbuzz.com. Magic Buzz. We're there when you can't be.
Laura Hillenbrand, the author of the much-loved Seabiscuit, has just released Unbroken. On an afternoon in May 1943, an Army bomber crashes into the Pacific Ocean and disappears, scattering debris, oil, gasoline, and blood. Then, on the ocean surface, a face appears, that of a young lieutenant, the plane's bombardier. He struggles into a life raft and pulls himself aboard. So begins one of the most extraordinary odysseys of the Second World War. The lieutenant's name was Louis Zamperini. In boyhood, he'd been a cunning and incorrigible delinquent, breaking into houses, brawling, fleeing his home to ride the rails. As a teenager, he channeled his defiance into running, discovering a talent that carried him to the Berlin Olympics and within sight of the 4-minute mile. But when war broke out, the athlete became an airman, embarking on a journey that led to his doomed flight, a tiny raft, and a drift into the unknown. Ahead of Zamperini lay thousands of miles of open ocean, sharks, thirst, starvation, and the enemy aircraft. Driven to the limits of endurance, Zamperini would answer desperation with ingenuity, suffering with hope, resolve and humor, brutality with rebellion. His fate, whether triumph or tragedy, rested solely on his will. Laura Hillenbrand writes with the same rich and vivid narrative voice we loved so much in Seabiscuit. Telling an unforgettable story, Unbroken is a testament to the resilience of the human mind, body, and spirit. Let's listen to Edward Herman's wonderful narration.
In the pre-dawn darkness of August 26, 1929, in the back bedroom of a small house in Torrance, California, a 12-year-old boy sat up in bed listening. There was a sound coming from outside, growing ever louder. It was a huge, heavy rush, suggesting immensity, a great parting of air. It was coming from directly above the house. The boy swung his legs off his bed, raced down the stairs, slapped open the back door, and loped onto the grass. The yard was otherworldly, smothered in unnatural darkness, shivering with sound. The boy stood on the lawn beside his older brother, head thrown back, spellbound. The sky had disappeared. An object that he could see only in silhouette, reaching across a massive arc of space, was suspended low in the air over the house. It was longer than 2.5 football fields and as tall as a city. It was putting out the stars. What he saw was the German dirigible Graf Zeppelin. At nearly 800 feet long and 110 feet high, it was the largest flying machine ever crafted. More luxurious than the finest airplane, gliding effortlessly over huge distances, built on a scale that left spectators gasping, it was, in the summer of '29, the wonder of the world. The airship was 3 days from completing a sensational feat of aeronautics, circumnavigation of the globe. The journey had begun on August 7th, when the Zeppelin had slipped its tethers in Lakehurst, New Jersey, lifted up with a long, slow sigh, and headed for Manhattan. On Fifth Avenue that summer, demolition was soon to begin on the Waldorf Astoria Hotel, clearing the way for a skyscraper of unprecedented proportions, the Empire State Building. At Yankee Stadium in the Bronx, players were debuting numbered uniforms. Lou Gehrig wore number 4. Babe Ruth, about to hit his 500th home run, wore number 3. On Wall Street, stock prices were racing toward an all-time high. After a slow glide around the Statue of Liberty, the Zeppelin banked north, then turned out over the Atlantic. In time, land came below again. France, Switzerland, Germany. The ship passed over Nuremberg, where fringe politician Adolf Hitler, whose Nazi party had been trounced in the 1928 elections, had just delivered a speech touting selective infanticide. Then it flew east to Frankfurt, where a Jewish woman named Edith Frank was caring for her newborn, a girl named Anne. Sailing northeast, the Zeppelin crossed over Russia. Siberian villagers, so isolated that they'd never even seen a train, fell to their knees at the sight of it. On August 19th, as some 4 million Japanese waved handkerchiefs and shouted Banzai, the Zeppelin circled Tokyo and sank onto a landing field. 4 days later, as the German and Japanese anthems played, the ship rose into the grasp of a typhoon that whisked it over the Pacific at breathtaking speed toward America. Passengers, gazing from the window, saw only the ship's shadow, following it along the clouds, like a huge shark swimming alongside. When the clouds parted, the passengers glimpsed giant creatures turning in the sea that looked like monsters. On August 25th, the Zeppelin reached San Francisco. After being cheered down the California coast, it slid through sunset into darkness and silence and across midnight. As slow as the drifting wind, it passed over Torrance, where its only audience was a scattering of drowsy souls, among them the boy in his pajamas, behind the house on Gramercy Avenue. Standing under the airship, his feet bare in the grass, he was transfixed. It was, he would say, fearfully beautiful. He could feel the rumble of the craft's engines tilling the air, but couldn't make out the silver skin, the sweeping ribs, the finned tail. He could see only the blackness of the space it inhabited. It was not a great presence, but a great absence, a geometric ocean of darkness that seemed to swallow heaven itself.
In a little more than half a decade, Facebook has gone from a dorm room to a company with 500 million users. It's an essential part of the social life not only of teenagers, but of hundreds of millions of adults. In The Facebook Effect, the inside story of the company that is connecting the world, veteran technology reporter David Kirkpatrick has had the full cooperation of Facebook's key executives in researching this fascinating history. Kirkpatrick tells us how Facebook was created, why it has flourished, and where it is going next. He chronicles its successes and missteps and gives us a complete assessment of founder and CEO Mark Zuckerberg. Kirkpatrick shows how Zuckerberg refused to compromise, insistently focusing on growth over profits and preaching that Facebook must dominate communication on the net. And boy, it does. In the process, he and a small group of executives created a company that has changed the social life in the United States and elsewhere. In this special edition, you'll also hear an exclusive conversation between the author and Randy Zuckerberg, a marketer at Facebook and the CEO's sister. You'll hear them talk about company milestones, high-profile product launches, and the CEO's growth emotionally and experientially. Whether or not you log on every day, or whether or not you've seen the recent Facebook movie, this book gets high marks. However, one note I must share. The book is read by the author. Readers like you who have sent in their reviews seem to concur that the narration is not the author's forte. But since this is about audiobooks, listen and see if you agree.
Morales spent a day asking himself if he was willing to go public on Facebook. He decided to take the plunge, and on the 4th created a group against FARC. It was like a therapy, he says. I had to express my anger. He wrote a short description of the group's simple purpose, to stand up against FARC. A self-confessed computer addict, Morales was skilled at graphics tools, so he designed a logo in the form of a vertical version of the Colombian flag. He overlaid it with 4 simple pleas in capitals running down the page, each one slightly larger than the last. No more kidnappings, no more lies, no more killings, no more FARC. I was trying to scream like if I was in a crowd, he explains. The time had come to fight FARC. What had happened was unbearable. But what should he call his group? On Facebook, it's conventional to give groups names like, I bet I can find 1 million people who hate George Bush. But Morales didn't like such titles. They were juvenile. This was not a contest. This was serious. Yet he liked the idea of 1 million. A famous Spanish song is called 1 Million Friends. 1 million people against FARC? The word voices sounded more literary. 1 million voices against FARC. 1 millón de voces contra las FARC. That was it. After midnight on January 4th, Morales created the group. He made it public so that any Facebook member could join. His personal network included about 100 friends, and he invited them all. He was tired. At 3 a.m., he went to bed. At 9 a.m. the next morning, he checked his group. 1,500 people had joined already. Woo! Morales howled in delight. This was an even better response than he had expected. That day at the beach, he told his extended family about the group and asked them to invite their own Facebook friends to join. Most of them were avid Facebook users as well, and they hated FARC too. By the time Morales returned home in the late afternoon, his group had 4,000 members. That's when I said to myself, okay, no more beach, no more going out. He was ready to get serious. I felt, oh my God, this is what I want, a committed community around the message. A Facebook group has a wall where members can post thoughts, as well as discussion forums that allow organized, long-lasting conversations among many members. Morales soon bonded with several people who were posting there with special vigor. They exchanged instant messaging and Skype addresses and cell phone numbers so they could continue their conversations offline. As more and more Colombians joined the group, members started talking not only about how mad they were about FARC, but what they ought to do about it. On January 6th, just the second full day, a consensus on the page was emerging that the burgeoning group should go public. By the time it hit 8,000 members, people were posting on the discussion board over and over, "Let's do something." Late on the afternoon of the 6th, his newfound Facebook friends, especially 2 he was speaking to by phone, convinced Morales that he should propose a demonstration. When he did, the idea was received on the wall and discussion board by acclamation. By the end of the day, the group, still operating only out of Morales' upstairs bedroom, had decided to stage a national march against FARC. It would be February 4th, 1 month after the formation of the group. Morales, who was used to being left out of things since he lived in a provincial city, insisted the march take place not only in Bogota, the capital, but also many other places throughout the country, including, of course, his hometown of Barranquilla. So Morales created an event called the National March Against FARC. He and his co-organizers, several of them already as consumed by the project as he was, immediately got pushback from unexpected quarters. Members in Miami, Buenos Aires, Madrid, Los Angeles, Paris, and elsewhere argued that it should be a global demonstration. Morales didn't even realize people living outside Colombia had joined the group. These Colombian émigrés were on Facebook partly to stay in touch with things back at home. They wanted to be involved in this movement too, so it became a global march. What ensued was one of the most extraordinary examples of digitally fueled activism the world has ever seen.
Social media. It's got everyone buzzing these days. But what is it really, and how can you put it to work for you? More than just a passing trend that's hot today, gone tomorrow, social media is marketing that is making a difference for savvy business people who have jumped into the future. Magic Buzz is a new online marketing company so unique, we've even coined a special phrase for what we do. Socio-viral. We combine the word-of-mouth friendliness of social media like Facebook and Twitter together with the viral reach power of YouTube to create the socio-viral effect. Magic Buzz's socio-viral solution provides the measurable value of online advertising that works, affordable, and effective. So get the buzz going for your business. Magic Buzz, with only one Z, because we're never asleep. Visit us at magicbuz.com. For more information or any questions, please feel free to email us at info@magicbuzz.com. Magic Buzz. We're there when you can't be.
As avid readers, I'm betting that you, like me, stop in regularly at your public library. Libraries across the U.S. are evolving and changing the way they serve their constituencies. I thought you'd be interested to hear the story of a library system in our heartland, Missouri. I'm so pleased to have as my guest today Melissa Carr, director of the Daniel Boone Regional Library in Columbia, Missouri. Melissa has called this library her home for more than 35 years. She started in circulation, then moved to public service. She's worked as a reference librarian and led the library through their strategic planning process. As the director, she manages the library services of the Boone County, Callaway County, and Columbia library districts, including 3 facilities, a bookmobile, 180 employees, and an $8.6 million budget. Melissa also acts as an advocate for library services and literacy in the community. Welcome, Melissa.
Thank you. Good to be here.
I've been hearing so much about the increase in the use of library services in the past few years. Has that been your experience?
Absolutely. Our libraries have become even more of a community hub and a place for everyone in our community. You know, every day I walk through the building and I see people from all parts of our community enjoying and using library services, and it's been the last couple of years, especially as I have been out and about in the community, I hear a lot of people saying, I didn't realize the library had CDs, books on CDs, or this format or that format. And I've been hearing more and more, we started using the library recently. With everything else going on, we found, you have free programs and things like that. So, yes, we've seen lots of folks come in. I think they're also coming in because of our wireless and our internet access. You know, we have seen a 25% increase in use of our wireless services because people have had to cut back on some of those services in their home.
Yeah. Well, speaking of budgets, I'm sure that that's always a challenge. And what specific challenges does this economic environment have for libraries?
Well, in our situation, and in I think libraries throughout the country, some of us were on the cusp of getting ready to build new buildings right when the economic downturn came along. So we had planned to expand facilities and put branches out to help our growing communities have access to library services. And then when we went out for the election, we found that people weren't quite as interested in funding new buildings. So the challenge became, how do we keep up with this increased demand and interest in library services, but we don't build buildings? And so our board and staff really have spent the last couple of years putting together a plan where they really looked into the community and tried to figure out ways that we can make it easier and more convenient for our patrons without building a structure that costs ongoing operating costs as well as building costs. So, some of the things that we found was that there's libraries across the country starting some new pilot projects, doing some really interesting things, and we kind of gathered ideas from lots of those libraries and started some new things this year. I think one of the things that, if people have not stopped and looked at their local library's catalog and website, many libraries are realizing that that website can become a digital branch that provides fabulous services 24/7 wherever people are without having to build buildings. And so in our case, that's definitely what we've been working on, because you can apply for your library card online, you can use reference databases that can help you repair your car, learn a language, write a resume, search value line, read a book. All those things are now available online, and so people do not have to come during open hours in case open hours have been cut or something like that. That's one thing that we've really seen an increase in. Also, convenience. How do you make it as convenient as possible? Because people are busy. So our new catalog makes it so easy for people to place reserves. They can use social networking and share their reviews. Your audience might be interested because you can write your own review and share it with everybody on your Facebook list through our catalog now. And so our number of reserves have increased 37% this year alone.
Oh, speaking about that, one thing I've always wondered is how about ordering? For instance, how do you decide? Here comes the next Harry Potter book, let's say, and it's going to be a blockbuster. How do you decide how many to order?
Our staff looks, because we do have several branches and kind of a diverse community. So our staff looks at that and uses, I would say, a little science, a lot of art, at predicting where is that book going to go, how big is big, and what formats are going to be the most important. In some of our communities, we want the book, we want the printed book. In others, getting that title on CD or if available and downloadable, that's more important. We have a general policy that for every 3 requests, we have a copy.
Well, thank you so much, Melissa. That's really some great information. Thanks a lot. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Released just in time for the holidays, President Barack Obama has written Of Thee I Sing, a Letter to My Daughters. Obama pens a moving tribute to 13 groundbreaking Americans and the ideals that have shaped our nation. From the artistry of Georgia O'Keeffe to the courage of Jackie Robinson to the patriotism of George Washington, the president sees the traits of these heroes within his own children and within all of America's children. The book celebrates characteristics that unite all Americans, from our nation's founders for the generations to come. Obama writes about the potential within each of us to pursue our dreams and forge our own paths. Of Thee I Sing, narrated by Andre Brower. Let's listen.
Have I told you lately how wonderful you are? How the sound of your feet, running from afar, brings dancing rhythms to my day? How you laugh, and sunshine spills into the room? Have I told you that you are creative? A woman named Georgia O'Keeffe moved to the desert and painted petals, bone, bark. She helped us see big beauty in what is small, the hardness of stone, and the softness of feather. Have I told you that you are smart? That you braid great ideas with imagination? A man named Albert Einstein turned pictures in his mind into giant advances in science, changing the world with energy and light. Have I told you that you are brave? A man named Jackie Robinson played baseball and showed us all how to turn fear to respect and respect to love. He swung his bat with the grace and strength of a lion and gave brave dreams to other dreamers. Have I told you that you are a healer? Sitting Bull was a Sioux medicine man who healed broken hearts and broken promises. It is fine that we are different, he said. For peace, it is not necessary for eagles to be crows. Though he was put in prison, his spirit soared free on the plains, and his wisdom touched the generations. Have I told you that you have your own song? A woman named Billie Holiday wore a gardenia in her hair and sang beautiful blues to the world. Her voice, full of sadness and joy, made people feel deeply and add their melodies to the chorus. Have I told you that you are strong? A woman named Helen Keller fought her way through long, silent darkness. Though she could not see or hear, she taught us to look at and listen to each other, never waiting for life to get easier.
Let's leave you today with a little holiday humor that's also inspirational. Michael J. Fox abandoned high school at age 18 to pursue an acting career. In his new book, he inspires and motivates students to recognize opportunities, maximize their abilities, and roll with the punches, all with his trademark optimism, warmth, and humor. In A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Future, Michael draws on his own life experiences to underscore that real learning happens when life goes skidding sideways. As most of us know, Michael was struck with early-onset Parkinson's disease, which has severely hampered his ability to act and communicate, but not to love. He offers up a comically skewed take on how, in his own way, he fulfilled the requirements of a college syllabus. He learned economics as a starving artist, an unexpected turn as an activist schooled him in political science, and his approach to comparative literature involved stacking books up against their movie versions. Replete with personal stories and hilarious anecdotes, Michael J. Fox's new book is the perfect holiday gift for graduates and fans, and it is a touching reminder that we should all appreciate what we have. It's written and narrated by Michael J. Fox.
Would it be crass to mention that I also have a doctorate of fine arts from NYU, as well as a doctorate of humane letters from Manhattan's Mount Sinai School of Medicine? They're honorary, of course, which puts me on equal academic footing with the Scarecrow from The Wizard of Oz. On that early summer afternoon in Vancouver, Canada, resplendent in my royal blue and crimson ceremonial muumuu and deftly balancing the mortarboard yarmulke atop my bobbling head, I was given the opportunity to address assembled graduates and faculty, families, and friends. Just as I had done on previous occasions when similarly honored, I opened with a question. What the hell were you people thinking? You are aware, I continued, that I am a high school dropout. Now that you have picked up this weighty tome from your local bookseller, I put the same question to you. What the hell were you thinking? Or in the likelihood that someone else bought it for you as a graduation gift, you might want to ask them what the hell were they thinking. Not that I don't have some bona fides. I did receive my GED, general equivalency degree. I finally put in the effort to achieve this goal at the urging of my son. He was 4 at the time. I'd sit at the dining room table, Sam perched on my lap playing with a plastic dinosaur, while a math tutor schooled me in the finer points of the Pythagorean theorem. And so at the tender age of 32, with my son registered to begin kindergarten the next fall, I applied to take the test that would make me, for all intents and purposes, a high school graduate. But that was 1994, approximately 15 years after I left high school in the 11th grade. In the intervening decade and a half, I've been alternately fortunate and unfortunate enough to receive an amazingly comprehensive education, albeit unstructured and often unbidden. Life 101. Some lessons, of course, are more appropriate to a certain age or stage of development. For example, my latter teenage years into my early 20s was a time when I was just smart enough to get myself into situations I was still too stupid to get out of. Later, as evidenced by Sam's insistence that I finish what I started, I found out that there is wisdom that can only come from being old enough to know how much there is to learn from children. And in the time since that milestone, I've remained a humble and grateful student of, if not the School of Hard Knocks, then at least a University of the Universal. I didn't pick my courses, they picked me. And just as there was no formal matriculation, neither was there any graduation. There were, of course, plenty of tests. Just to reassure you, I'm not one of those swaggering jerks who, having achieved success after dropping out of school, promotes the fiction that a higher education is a complete waste of time. All the same, I sometimes employ my lack of academic standing as a subtle goad to those who would make character judgments based solely on one's alma mater or postgraduate degree. As executive producer of Spin City, I was responsible for hiring and managing an astoundingly bright collection of young comedy writers, many of them graduates from prestigious universities, Dartmouth, Yale, Princeton, and Harvard, to name an ivy-covered few. Inspired by the irony that I was the boss of such a lettered group of individuals, and honestly perhaps a little intimidated, I thought I'd have some fun with it. I amassed a collection of T-shirts from some of the finest schools in the country. Among others, I had a burgundy Harvard tee and a Stanford Cardinal jersey. An old Dartmouth baseball shirt was a personal favorite. Now, I announced to the Wonderkins, assembled for one of our first meetings of Season 1, if you see me wearing a shirt from your alma mater, say Yale, for example, with this I'd sneak a glance at an eager young Eli whose specialty was fart jokes, then that means it's your day to get me coffee. Okay, so I am capable of a modicum of swaggering jerkitude. A scant few minutes of Wikipedic surveying will uncover an impressive roster of well-known people in every arena of public life who have attained success and recognition without ever having graduated from high school. Those I most relate to are, of course, the actors and entertainers, whose early life experiences were no doubt similar to my own, propelled by a common group of neuroses towards careers in show business. These include such estimable personages as Leonardo DiCaprio, Johnny Depp, Robert De Niro, Chris Rock, Kevin Bacon, John Travolta, Hilary Swank, Jim Carrey, Charlie Sheen, Sean Connery, Al Pacino, and Quentin Tarantino. But it's not just actors who've achieved success despite bailing on their formal education. Here's a group sure to be a corkscrew to the gut of any CPA with an MBA that includes some of the more impressive dropout billionaires. Richard Branson, founder of Virgin Music and Virgin Atlantic Airways. Andrew Carnegie, industrialist. Henry Ford, founder of the Ford Motor Company. John D. Rockefeller, oil man. Philip Emeagwali, supercomputer scientist and one of the pioneers of the Internet. Kirk Kerkorian, investor and casino operator, and Jack Kent Cooke, media mogul and owner of the Washington Redskins. And my favorite list, geniuses without diplomas, including Thomas Edison, Albert Einstein, and Benjamin Franklin.
Who do I think I am? Guess I don't know.
Well, that brings us to the end of our special library edition of the Book Report. Let's check out for this week. Next time, when you step out of a public library, show some appreciation for those hardworking librarians. And reflect also what a great society we live in when you can walk out with a bunch of books, CDs, or DVDs all loaned to you for free. Readers, thanks so much for joining us today. Thanks again to Erin James for the theme music from her Soul Garden album. I'm Elaine Charles. Have a great week, and I hope to see you next time.
Done broke us down, and all the years of trust come tumbling to the ground. I never thought I could become unkind, but I've got